These are not the typical kind of videos that I do on this page, but I've been led to do it, so I'm going to do it. And if you stay with me, you're going to learn a lot from this. I've been having like really beautiful and amazing conversations with young people this past few weeks about God. And it made me realize that some people think that you have to hear God and experience God the same way as every other person. But that is not true. In my personal work with God, I have come to realize that everybody would experience God and hear from Him differently. For some people, they hear like a voice. For some people, they dream and they see things and get instructions. However, for some people like myself, we have this feeling, like it's a feeling. You feel like, oh, it's my instinct, it's my guts. It's not your guts. That's God speaking to you. However, you've not been attentive enough to recognize God's voice. For some people as well, it might even be having conversation with other people. I also experienced this as well. So these conversations with these young people about God the past few weeks just made me start thinking back to my own journey. One of the key things that I look back to was how I got into the uni. It was a very crazy experience. So in 2013, I was like, okay, I've stayed at home for a year. Let me apply for JAMB and get into school. In that moment in my life, I just wanted to get into school. So anything that they give to me, I'm okay with it. And I just chose DELSU, Delta State University. Why did I choose DELSU? I don't even know why. I just felt, okay, I'm from Delta. If I apply to DELSU, they will accept me. So I applied for the first one in 2013. And that was when the dual thing started. Dual CBT, where you use paper and then computer. Guess where I found out that JAMB happened? On TV. I came back from church that Sunday and I was watching the news and they were like, dual JAMB CBT, whatever has happened. And I was looking at the news. My sister was like, hello, I thought you know this date. I said, yes, I know the date. So I went to pick up my slip and I looked at the date. In my mind, I thought I registered for CBT. I looked and I saw the date was the day before and they had written the exam. I ran to the church. I cried. I was like, God, why? Because thinking about my background and how it's been in terms of education in my family, I felt like the devil was at work. They didn't want me to go to school. That was what I felt in that moment. Next year again, I applied, the same DELSU. I don't know what happened, but I still didn't write that JAMB. So it felt like, it's like these people are attacking me. What's going on? So I was really devastated. Like, I felt like I was not serious with my life. You register for something, then you're not sure, or you will miss the date, or something will just happen. For 2 whole years, that thing happened to me. The third year, which was like 2015, something happened and I met somebody. So the person that I met, we started talking, a lady, and she was like, oh, I go to UniBen, how far, how is school and all that. I was like, oh, I tried to apply to DELSU, but I didn't get in. I didn't say I didn't write the exam because I was too ashamed of myself. I didn't get in. So we started talking and she was like, oh, why did you apply to DELSU? Which course? This one. She was just talking, why did you go to DELSU? DELSU is this and that. Why don't you apply to UniBen? I was like, I don't know anybody in Benin, but listen, DELSU now, I have my family in Delta, I can go there, but I don't know anybody in Benin. And again, Benin, they might not accept me because I'm not Benin. So that was where she was not like, oh, there's area of consideration if you are from neighboring villages. So she just like enlightened me about UniBen and all of that. And so I got interested. But in that moment, I didn't know that that was God speaking to me through her. I got interested based on our conversation, and that year JAMB came up and I registered. I put in UniBen and I chose biochemistry. I wrote JAMB, I passed the JAMB. I applied for post-UTME in UniBen. I went there, I wrote post-UTME and I came back home. And guess what? I passed. But it didn't stop there. When I passed, that same month that the result came out, that I had been admitted into university to study biochemistry, that was the same month the person who was supposed to sponsor my education lost her job. I was like, I'm not going to school again. How am I going to pay my school fees? Oh my God. Oh, it was like another devastating moment. Like, oh, after 2 years, after 3 years of trying, I finally wrote this thing. I got it now. Now there's no money to pay. And she was like, go to UniBen. I was like, go to UniBen to do what? She said, go, don't worry, God will provide. And so I just carried my bag and my box. I didn't buy new clothes. I didn't buy anything new. Just carried my bag. I didn't have money for registration. I only had transport. So like, go to Uniben. Our church has like fellowship apartments that you can go and stay there until you're able to look for money to maybe get you a hostel or get you anywhere to stay, but just go. So I carried my bike, got to Uniben main gate, called the fellowship people. I've never met them, took me to the apartment. That's where I was staying. 2 days later, somehow, the money to start my clearance came out for 5,000 naira. I don't know how that money came out. So I went to register for the clearance and I started the clearance process. Now, when I got to clearance process, that's when another problem started. Actually, I have noticed this problem before I even wrote my JAMB. When I was registering for my JAMB, I don't know how the person who registered me changed my name from Elohor to Flohor. Instead of Elohor, it's now Flohor. I was so angry and mad at that person. Like, why did you spoil my name? Why did you see F instead of E? You're like, oh, they thought it was F. They didn't know this. So I wrote the JAMB, wrote the Kusemi. My name was coming as Flohor. You know, I did affidavit. So during the clearance process, they were like, I have 2 options, right? I can just clear with that name, Flohor. And in my final year, I would now change the name before I graduate and before they give me my certificate. Then the second option, they said I have to change the name. That's the second option. Okay, I was like, I don't even know which one I would choose. So this clearance process is very stressful. You come at 6 a.m., you leave at 5 p.m., it's still not your turn. So I met a lady who was one of the clearance officers, and she saw my case. She was like, I advise you to just take your time and do this name change. Because if you do this name change now, it's going to be easier than when you do it in your final year, because all of your things would have that flaw. So changing this is going to be like a whole lot, and you're going to go through a lot of stress when you want to graduate. So in that moment, I didn't even have my school fees here, because once they clear, you have to go and pay school fees. I don't have school fees here, so I didn't have money for books. So I was like, okay, I think I should listen to this lady. And that in that moment, that was God speaking. So I listened to her and I started the process. 3 whole months. I was going there. It even got to a point I was like, you know, people should clear me like that. I don't want to keep waiting for this name change. Clear me like that. I'm tired of coming here every day, missing classes, coming here to line up. I'm just done. She was like, keep coming. So she started teasing me, Flo, enter, she sees me. So most times I just go there, and she even became my friend. But that's not the point. Eventually, a week to exam, my name got fixed. That was when they fixed my name, everything changed. I had LO and I got cleared a week to exam. And I don't know how, money for school fees came out, 49,900, maybe 49,500, I can't remember. Money for school fees came out, and then I paid my school fees and I wrote my exam. That's just like an example or a moment in my life where God was leading me. God was speaking, because in all of those moments, I either have this feeling or this instant, or I spoke to these people and these people just led me towards where I was supposed to be part-time. For some people, God can just give them the name of the school. Like, they will just hear that name, right? Some of them will dream about it and they will just see the school. It's not like that for me. But does that mean that I didn't experience God or God wasn't speaking? God was. I didn't realize all of this until I started to take my work with God seriously, and I began to reflect on some things that had happened in my life, and I'm like, God has always been here. God has always been speaking, but I haven't been attentive enough to recognize that this is God's voice. I've just been thinking that it's my own feeling, it's my own instinct, it's just my own thing, trying to plan everything the way I want it to be. Another experience was when I tried to take up something that even from the beginning, my spirit was already telling me, Ella, don't take this. I didn't know that was God speaking. I just felt like, oh, it's my spirit. And I already had a plan. So the plan that I had, taking that thing just makes the whole plan that I have make sense. So I was like, if I don't take it now, this whole plan will scatter, you know. And that is even the most like interesting thing about listening to God's leading. Because sometimes the things that God leads you towards doesn't fit into your plan, and it doesn't have to fit into your plan, because God's plan is not yours. So I went after that, and even after, with that spirit leading me, I went after it. And at the end of the day, when I got to the middle, I came back to that beginning of, Lord, don't follow this thing. So I still came back after wasting time going through all of that, you know, because I felt like it fitted into my plan. I had to still come back to that square one that I ran away from. You get? So that is the thing about listening to God. So I want you to think about, look at yourself, look at your journey, look at the things that has been happening in your life. God has been speaking to you, but you probably have not recognized that feeling, that thing, that conversation you had with this person, and he just gave you this feeling that this is what you should do. There's this nudge, and you feel like, oh, I have to hear a voice, I have to dream, or the man of God has to tell me that this is what God has said about me before I go ahead. No. If you start to pay attention to how you feel in different things, you will know that God has been there. God has been taking you through different things to lead you to where you are supposed to be part-time. So sometimes when I have these feelings, what I now do is pray about them. Like, God, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling like I shouldn't do this thing. And I know that this is your leading. This is your spirit, trying to let me know not to do this or to do this. So what I do is, God, please lead me, take the wheel, right? Take the wheel and lead me where I'm supposed to go. Guide me in obedience to follow the leading of your spirit. So that's what I now do when I have these feelings sometimes, and I don't just look at them as, oh, it's just my feelings, it's just a nudge, right? So that's what I do, and God has just been leading and speaking to me. So I want you to pay attention. God is speaking to you, God is leading you, but you are not attentive enough to realize that. So sometimes it's not the devil, sometimes it is God, but you are not just listening.